So this is great. I appreciate you coming on, giving us about an hour of your time, and I know you're busy. And I'm thinking about all the jobs that I've seen you have, like in the paper, and you seem to have one successful career after another. Currently, head of the Democratic Party
Yeah,
in
I
Michigan.
I've spent my entire career has been in public service. So I got elected to the county commission when I was 22 years old, beat a Republican incumbent. Was register of deeds in the middle of the foreclosure crisis, focused on saving people's homes. And then I was a state senator for 8 years, and now the head of the Michigan Democratic Party. So I consider this still an active public service, but it's obviously slightly different.
Well, it's an important part to have a strong, to have a, in Michigan, we have really a strong two-party state, right?
Yeah, we're a purple state, so
Yeah.
everything's up for grabs. I mean, this next election, we have an open Senate seat, open governor's race, open attorney general, open secretary of state. That's never happened in Michigan history all at the same time. There are three congressional seats that could decide who controls Washington. We have every seat in the House and Senate. So, yeah, there's a lot going on for sure.
And I assume there's a lot of transferable skills from one job to another, whether it's the Register of Deeds and the county commissioner to state senator to working for the governor. But each of those jobs probably carries with it very unique skills and vision and horizon.
Yeah, I think that you learn skills over time. I mean, like for me, I think that the ability to listen to people and to try to understand where they're coming from and what their wants and needs are really has been part of every part of my career. And, I was somebody who in the legislature was oftentimes the person that spoke between Republicans and Democrats and tried to find those places of common ground, even though that was sometimes, difficult. But for me, it's that skill, the ability to really try to understand. I'm a curious person, and I think curiosity is a really important thing, and that you try to understand other people and try to understand where they're coming from.
It's interesting to me because I basically had the same job for the last 35 years.
You've had like a lot of jobs. I don't know
Well,
if you've only had one job, but yeah,
well,
sure.
I've had jobs in addition to practicing law, but I mean that's basically all I've done, and I'm always a little envious of people like you who can sort of go from one job to another and you leave it and it's not scorched earth and you continue to build on your reputation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people. I'm lucky that I get to do something I love for a living. I've loved every aspect of public service, and I love elections and campaigns and talking to people. I love, I believe that our job as humans is to try to make the world better than when we started. And there are so many different ways to do that. But every single day, I get to think about how I can make that better. Now, this is a little different role because I do it from a political aspect. But I personally think the Democratic Party is a force for good in the world. I think that if there's no party fighting for better wages for people, making child care more affordable, making health care more affordable, if we're not that party, there won't be a party in this country that's fighting for those things. And so I see this as an extension of that public service more than anything else.
And for the most part, your professional career has been here in the Lansing area.
Yeah, no, I moved here when I was 18. So I had a couple jobs. I worked as a usher at a movie theater. I worked for the Detroit Zoo as I sold memberships to the Zoological Society.
There you
Took
go.
every lunch in the Penguinarium because that's the coolest part of the Detroit Zoo. But all of my adult work has been here in Lansing.
And so I think you were here in '96
Yes.
at Michigan State.
Freshman in
and,
'96, graduated in 2000, the year we won the national title.
and so in the
basketball.
18 would have been 88, no, 78.
I was born in '78. Yes.
Right. And so you sort of grew up in a very unique time in Detroit history, right?
Yeah, I grew up on the east side of Detroit. My family had lived in the east side for a very long time. My great grandparents owned a bar that eventually my grandparents ran. It was called Kaufman's Cafe. It was a German bar. They made a bratwurst patties by hand, not the sausage, but the
Yeah,
actual
there you go.
patties. My grandfather built a giant antenna on top of the bar so he could get Lions games even when they were blacked out. And so, our family career started in that kind of service, actually.
There's a great history of bars like that in the Detroit area, right?
It's amazing. I wish the bar was still open. It's
Yeah.
unfortunately closed when I was young.
And your dad was a state rep
Yeah, if you live in the right neighborhood,
before term limits.
before term limits, yeah. If you live in the right neighborhood, my dad was your state rep, my Uncle John was your state senator, my Uncle Dennis was your congressman.
All with the last name Hertel.
All with the last name Hertel. And really, it was never expected of me that I would go into public service. It was never like, this is what you do. For me, I watched how they served. I watched how they helped people. I watched them give their time and energy to make people's lives better. And to me, that's why I wanted to run for office. But it was never, I have 10 cousins from that family. Only 3 of us have run for office. One once and hated it, I believe. And then my brother Kevin, who is a state senator from Macomb County, we're the only 2 of the rest of us. So it wasn't like this is what you were forced to do. It was something you could
like the
choose.
Kennedys or something. It wasn't like the Aboods becoming lawyers, right?
Yeah, well, I just never, like with my kids, what I always tell my kids is find something you love and that you're passionate about, and then try to find some way to make money doing it.
And you grew up in Detroit in the Coleman Young era.
Yes.
And
My dad was very close.
I was going to say they would
Yeah.
have had a relationship because they were both Democrats, and Coleman was, obviously a sort of larger than life figure.
My father was the last Democrat who was Speaker of the House before term limits.
And tell me when his term, like how long?
1998 is when he was done. 1980 is when he went in. So he served
So 18 years, yeah.
And so
And then he was a lobbyist for a period of
a
time.
brief period of time, a lobbyist, kind of hated it, and then
When did he pass?
my dad passed 9 years ago on Easter Sunday.
Okay.
I miss him every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was my best friend.
And so what did he do between not being a lobbyist once he'd stopped being a lobbyist and
He ran the Detroit Port Authority.
okay.
Which I know a job he loved. He had served on the Transportation Committee as chair before he was Speaker of the House. So he certainly loved that and loved the Detroit River, loved the waterfront.
Really a commitment to the Detroit area. Really
loved boating. I mean, my dad had a boat.
Yeah,
his
who
whole
doesn't?
life. It's
Who
a small 22-foot Stingray. Maybe it was 21 feet, but it was the name of it was Slapshot. He was a big hockey
really?
fan as well, so he had the
I think
Detroit Red Wings
I
and
think
Slapshot on the back.
my in-laws had a Stingray up on Walloon.
In fact, my dad loved hockey.
Engine.
He loved hockey so much that he actually created a Capital Sticks team for Republicans and Democrats to play together. They did fundraisers for charity and got to play the Detroit Red Wing greats at the Joe. So that was, I think, one of his favorite things.
So you come to Michigan State in sort of a great era when we had both Nick Saban and Tom Izzo as our coaches, and live in, I assume, a dorm your first year.
Case Hall, 2
Yeah,
North.
well, you're James Madison, right?
Yep, 2 North.
So I was 5 North.
2 North was co-ed by Sweet, so I think that's why I picked it.
Yeah,
Probably.
I was 5 North,
Yeah.
but I was there a little earlier than you,
Yeah.
83. So I was in Case in 83, 84.
Decent food because the football team was there, so that
Yeah,
always helped.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
a athlete dorm, but it was James Madison, which it
Yep.
means that really, right out of high school, you're gonna focus on policy for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I loved Madison. It didn't tell you what to think, but it certainly taught you how to think, how to take in
Mhm.
lots of information, how to process it, how to communicate.
A lot of
It
writing,
was a lot of writing. I mean, that first year they basically tried to weed you out of that
reading, and
school.
writing. Yeah, they weeded me out pretty good.
Were you Madison for a year? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I lived in Case with
Oh,
James Madison.
I didn't realize that. That's what.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I didn't. What did you end up? Pre law?
no finance.
Oh, okay.
No, they told me there's no place for sarcasm at James Madison, and I
I found
still,
some.
I still
Maybe it
have,
changed a little bit.
I still have the paper that the prof wrote that on.
So
So
there's no room for sarcasm. Oh, well, that's
yeah, so
that's
I
no
said,
fun.
well, instead of changing, I'm gonna become a finance major.
They let me get away with a little bit of sarcasm.
So a lot of times you make like lifelong friends at James Madison or in college.
Absolutely.
Was that did you meet a core group of people that were like
Oh yeah.
because most of the people there like they're going to go to law school or they're going to go into politics, right?
Yeah, so many people through that and college Dems. I was the head of MSU Dems. I was the vice president for the College Democrats in Michigan. I actually got hired by the Democratic Party to be the youth organizer for the Democratic Party while I was there. So I got to meet a lot of people that way. Dave Masseron, who now is the head of global real estate for GM.
Yeah, I know that name.
Was one of my is still one of my best friends. I mean, I was the best man at his wedding. He's
There you
Nathan's
go.
godfather.
Is there a point in time in your career where you have the family meeting and it's kind of like the birds and the bees, but really it's you're a Democrat. This is what we think.
No,
This is
no. I saw. Listen, I mean,
because you come to college, right? And a lot of times the whole college spirit. It's like enlightening for you, and a lot of people start to see and believe things that they've never thought. And here you are, really coming to James Madison, which I don't. I mean, I think there's just as many conservatives as there are.
oh, absolutely.
And yet you immediately sort of sidle up to the college Dems, and I'm just wondering, like, how does that come about?
Well, I mean, a couple things. I mean, first of all, just because we're both Democrats doesn't mean that we didn't have arguments. I mean, I can
Right,
remember some
right.
pretty
You're talking
heated-
about you and
I
your.
can remember some pretty heated arguments between me and my father
Yeah.
about politics, and me and my brother don't agree on everything either. I think that that's part of life, and my dad was probably, I mean, at the beginning of his career, he was probably a pretty religiously conservative Democrat. Would be considered then pro life. I don't think he would meet what now the pro life definition is, but was somebody who changed a lot over the time when he was in the legislature from learning and everything else, which I think is actually what I think we discourage now people to actually become learn.
Oh,
to say,
you can't.
Oh, you changed your
Yeah,
position.
yeah.
Well, who in the world? Think
Yeah,
about this for a second.
100%.
Who in the world doesn't sometimes change their position
Right.
on an issue? I hope that all of us in our lives get a little smarter.
Either
if
you
have a new
knew-
experience, meet somebody. and
Either you
actually
knew
do it. So-
everything when you were 20 or 22 years old and you had the whole thing figured out, or you've grown over time, right?
I hope that's the case, right? But so, no, there wasn't like a meeting where they sat us down and said, okay, this is what Democrats think and this is what you think. I mean, I'm a Democrat because I generally believe that government and the economy should work for all people, and that the idea of the pursuit of happiness that we were all guaranteed only works when there is some economic justice that actually allows for people to fight to have fair wages and those issues. And I also believe personally that government on a personal level should stay out of your lives. So
Right.
I don't think the government has any business deciding who you can marry, what you do with your own body, and all those things. And so those are things that I think are the important aspects of why I decided to become a Democrat.
And so your dad is working in Lansing as you're
Yes.
growing up, and you are. I don't know whether it was like this in your household, but did you have dinner at 6 o'clock or 6:45 or 6:50? I
So
mean, on a regular basis, where your dad would come home and
no, we didn't live a normal life in that. I mean, this is what I will say. In many times in lives like ours, and my family's life's like this too, you have to make it quality time instead of quantity sometimes.
right,
And so, no, dinner wasn't on the table at 6:45, and we all sat around and,
right,
and had that. There were days that happened, but
Yeah.
like certainly there were lots of times it didn't. But I will tell you that I don't remember a football game that I played in. I had a stupid rock band in high school. I don't remember a show that my father didn't actually show up at. He showed maybe up in the second quarter in a suit, or part of the second set. Every play, everything I was ever part of, he still made it to.
right.
He
Isn't
made
that
us a
great?
priority, even in his crazy life that he had.
Yeah, and you probably do the same for your kids.
Absolutely, yeah.
right?
I got that. That was the best part of serving from here, because I had a 15
Oh yeah, it
minute
was
commute, right?
all local.
And so, like, there was a time when my son had a music concert, and I, in a break of session, went home, watched the music concert, and came back and voted.
Right.
I got to coach my son's baseball and basketball teams while I was in the Senate, and that is probably rare for a lot of people in that position to be able to do. So that was one of the lucky parts from serving from Lansing.
And you graduate from college in a great time to be in East Lansing.
Great
right?
time, yes.
When everything looks like we're going to be on top forever.
I mean, we won the national championship your senior year.
Yeah.
I got to go to that game. I still have a piece of the floor.
Yeah, that was in Indianapolis.
Yeah, great game.
Yeah.
Great game. I had to go back home that night. So we
Yeah, I did the same. I did the same.
But if you won, it's okay, because
Right.
your adrenaline is so high.
Right.
That 4-hour drive isn't that bad. But if we had lost, I think it would have been a tougher drive.
Yeah, and so then what do you do coming out of college?
So
Because, quite frankly, with a James Madison degree, it's not like you're interviewing with General Motors or Hewlett Packard or, it's often you're going to grad school.
So for me, I ran for office. I was 22 years old. I ran for county commission.
Had to be one of the youngest.
I think I was at the time the youngest
Yeah.
of the Ingham County Commission. I was the youngest, certainly serving.
And
but I think
Hertel was a well-known name, but not necessarily for county politics, right?
not really here. I mean,
Right.
like if you were an insider, you would know. My father
Yeah.
was the Speaker of the House, but he ran from Detroit.
And
so,
who was his counterpart in the Senate?
well, there were different ones, but Ken Sikkema
Right.
was at that time.
It was a Republican.
And so, yeah. And in fact, he was also one of the only people that ever served as co-speaker, because we were at 55-55 and they had to negotiate an agreement. So he actually served as co-speaker, then lost the House, became minority leader, and then won the House back and became speaker.
Right. And what people know or should know is that because of the requirement that you have a balanced budget every year, he had to work. They all had to work together.
Yeah, I mean, really, it was one of the most productive times in history.
Right.
There was nothing in the Constitution that said, how do you do it? And so they had to develop an agreement. And, for the first 2 months, it was hard. Like people think that politics is tough now. It wasn't not tough then.
Right.
At one point, my dad gave a speech on the floor talking about 30 pieces of silver and referring to somebody basically as Judas. Paul Hilligans, who was his counterpart, was so angry at one point that he was yelling on the phone, hung up the phone, and his son asked him if Democrats were people, and then if they were bad people. I mean, there was some vitriol.
Paul, I think, was one of the more respected.
Absolutely, Paul's
Right.
a wonderful man.
Yeah, Republican, but very well respected.
Oh,
yeah.
I love Paul, and Paul actually contributed to my campaign for Congress. So
There
I
you
mean,
go.
like
Right.
there's a lot of bipartisanship there too. But what happened there was they sat down in a bar in Lansing. Actually, I think it was the Crystal Bar in Holt. I think it was.
Oh, right.
And they sat with a bar napkin and wrote out an agreement with each other. And the agreement was that one group would be speaker 1 month, the other group would be the next month. They would shift committee chairs the opposite way. And the best part to me is there were 6 silver bullets in the agreement that if you couldn't get an agreement between the two parties, you could force a vote on the floor. And they were never used. They found a way to work with each
Right.
other. And I do think that's different than now. I mean, I think that's really
That was sort of
a time that where
that was sort
people
of
had
the
worked with
Jim Blanchard to John Engler era, right?
yes.
Uh-huh. And John sort of was an up and comer who really, ran a different program than Blanchard's did in the politics.
Yeah, I mean, John Engler, I don't agree with 99% of what John Engler believes, but I do think that he was efficient at it.
His politics and what he did had long lasting effects on Michigan.
For sure.
For sure. And but I mean, you sort of see all that, you decide to run. Your dad is still alive, right?
My dad's still alive then. He had just been term limited out
Yeah.
2 years before that. And I ran for county commission. I was running against a Republican incumbent. Guy's name was Wally Jewell. And I only won because I knocked every door 3 times.
Well, that's how you win.
I
right?
mean, I just,
When you say you only won, I mean you won.
I won by
because-
300 and some votes.
But
I
you
mean, it
did
was
you did a lot of
yeah.
work, is what you said.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Wally told me that I was going to win.
You're single, right?
No, I was married to my first wife.
Oh,
at that
okay.
point, yeah.
All right. And so you knock on all the doors. And Ingham County Commissioner, is that not really a full-time job, is it?
No, so that was my part. That was my. I did that, and then I worked for the House Democratic Caucus.
Okay. And
I was their constituent services
okay.
person.
And so that's 2 full-time jobs, really.
Yeah,
I mean, as much as the Ingham County Commissioner is supposed to be a part-time job, you're on committees.
Yeah, I think everything that you do in life is full time if you're passionate about it, for sure. But I also don't sleep much, so
Yeah,
there's an extension of that at some point.
And you develop a sort of a reputation for yourself, right? And obviously the Democrats know who you are.
Yeah, I mean we passed a living wage ordinance while I was there. We expanded the Ingham Health Plan, which I thought was amazing. It was a precursor to the Affordable Care Act. At one point, was providing health care access to 18,000 people in Ingham County. And then I also worked on saving the zoo.
There you go.
The zoo was falling apart. It was about to lose its AZA accreditation. At that point, it would be a glorified petting zoo. And we worked to take it over at the county level.
Were you there when the courthouse was built?
No.
So that would have been after
That's
you.
pre my time. I did work in the
Oh.
courthouse, but
it was before you.
which courthouse?
The new Ingham County.
The Veterans Memorial
yes,
Courthouse?
Yeah.
Oh, well, so the Veterans Memorial Courthouse was built by the previous administration, but it was my resolution that actually named the Veterans Memorial Courthouse
Okay,
the
so
Veterans Memorial
right
Courthouse.
about just before you.
Yeah,
then.
just before me was when it was built, and then I came in. There were different proposals for the name. I wanted to name it the Veterans Memorial Courthouse. We had used to have the Civic Center was named after veterans here, and after that was gone, there wasn't something that was named after veterans, and so a group had come to me, and we started trying to do it. And I will tell you, I won't give you the names, but there were lots of politicians who were opposed to calling it that until it passed, and then at the groundbreaking,
they were all-
very excited
yeah.
that it was called that.
Well,
So-
and I mean, not that you were a newcomer, but you're kind of like, who is this guy?
oh yeah, for sure.
Right? I mean, he's living off his dad's name or whatever you
Yeah.
want to say.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
I will say that
And you didn't have, I would say you had some roots, but not deep into Ingham County politics.
No, I mean, I know that that because of my last name, there will always be a suspect of how hard I work.
What's wrong with that?
Well, you know this, I think, a little bit. That people assume that because your name was something or something else,
Yeah.
that's the way you'll be. I mean, one, I moved 90 miles away from where my
Yeah.
father served in order to run. But two, more importantly, because of that, I've always felt a need to work extra, which is why I think that I've been so successful in different parts of my career, is because I feel this a sense of responsibility because I've been given an opportunity. Like I realize that I have privilege, but that I can use that for good
Right.
if I do it right. And so that's really, where my driving force has been.
That's well said. I know that when I was in law school, I got called on by every single professor in the first class to stand up,
Yeah.
pretty much, and they just thought it was funny because, oh, this is Fred Abood's son, and he has siblings here, and we're gonna. But
I was asked to defend the Democratic Party a lot at Madison too. I mean,
and
so I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
but everybody's predisposed to think something about somebody,
For sure.
whether you have a a father with a big name, or a mother, or a sibling, or whatever. There's always some predisposition about something, right?
Yeah. But in all honesty, I got to watch my dad work, and that was absolutely invaluable in the sense that I got to see the way he handled situations, the way he bent the world to make things better for people. I mean, that I think is absolutely things that I learned from.
And with your connections, I think Dennis Archer would have run and become mayor in the maybe 92, 94 era.
Yeah, so he was mayor when I was in high school.
Yeah, and was he mayor for a couple of terms, or?
Well, yes, he was mayor, and he was mayor until, if I'm remembering the order exactly, he was mayor, and then you had the year after I graduated from college would have been the year that Kwame Kilpatrick was elected mayor of Detroit.
But the point is, you had likely significant connections in Detroit.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Right, you could have gone back to Detroit instead of staying here.
Oh, there were people that wanted me to do that. There were people that wanted me to run for my father's seat, and I never wanted anyone to vote for me because of my last name, and also.
Well, that's all they vote because of, right? Isn't
No,
it?
you do the work. Like you earn that stuff. I mean, I do think there's also, I mean, I liked living here. I mean, like, I will say this: as much as I love Detroit, and it will always be like the hometown that I came from, and I love going. I hate traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, I love in Lansing when people complain about traffic. It's the funniest thing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, because you used to get. I mean, I worked at the Detroit Zoo. It was 15 minutes from my house. If I left at the right time, it was 15 minutes. If I left at the wrong time, it was an hour. I mean, like that. Like that's not. It's just not what I wanted to live near.
Right.
I mean, we live in a place where you can get top sports. I mean, like
Right.
and. His culture at Wharton. We still get big concerts that come through at Breslin. I mean, I think that there's a lot of things that you get. Living in a college town is like living in a big city with a lot less traffic. I mean, I think that there are, we could probably use a few better restaurants. I mean,
Right.
But I mean, other than that, I mean,
yeah. So I mean, and sometimes it's by accident. For you, it doesn't sound like it was, like you had some intentionality about not going back to Detroit and staying here, as opposed to, well, I always wanted to go back, but one thing came after another.
No, and again, I love the city, and I spend a lot of time down there. Still, my brother lives down there. My son's at Wayne State, so I spend a lot of time in the city still. And we're just actually the Michigan Democratic Party is opening a Detroit office. We haven't had a permanent office in Detroit in a very long time.
Well, that
outside of campaign season to get back
like
to do
that
the work.
would be beneficial to the Democratic Party.
So we're doing that. We're having a grand opening the day after the mayor's race is done. So I'm really excited about that work. But I Oh, I like living in a college town. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, there is something about it that keeps you young, right?
Yeah.
Especially when the students are back in the fall. I mean, there is a lot more traffic, but you all of a sudden realize, oh, it's fall. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And there's more traffic, but seriously,
right.
like, it's just so much different than I think if you've lived in Detroit or Chicago or someplace like that. The traffic is much different.
And the Register of Deeds, whoever runs for that job.
It's not the sexiest job on the planet, but we were in the middle of the foreclosure crisis, and I thought that the office could be used better. And so when I was there, I sued every major bank in the country to try to get them to pay their taxes, because when they were foreclosing on people,
Right.
they were using what I would call a trick in order to avoid paying taxes. We hired an attorney to handle individual cases of foreclosure fraud. So we actually fought foreclosure firms and actually saved people's homes.
Trot and trot.
I'll tell you, Trot and Trot. I was quoted in Mother Jones as saying that Trot and Trot is a firm. David Trott was a person who lived off the souls of human misery, and I don't think that's actually.
I'm
accurate.
not here to
Put
down, and I don't care that you do. I don't. I'm not here to put him down. I just know that
let
they
me just say this: I watched people that tried to do everything right still lose their home, and I know that it's not. If you've seen The Big Short, that walks through the crisis of what happened and everything, that is a great example of what happened to America. But what was happening to individuals, in Michigan, we have such an easy foreclosure process. And on top of that, very little protections for the individual person. How does one person fight back? They're already broke. How are they supposed to fight back? And so we hired these cases, and I will tell you that I had people that made every single payment and were foreclosed on by mistake.
Yeah.
We saw people that had fallen into a terrible situation, had gotten themselves out of it, but they didn't care and wouldn't work with them. We saw there were the most common thing that happened was somebody was in trouble, right? I'm going to miss a payment. And they would call their bank and say, hey, I'm kind of in trouble. And the bank would say, well, the only way for you to get a modification is to miss a payment. So a person who never missed a mortgage payment in their lives goes and misses a payment so they get a modification. And then they were given what was called a temporary modification. So they would say, here is the temporary modification. You make these payments, and you make them for 6 months, and they're going to be permanent. At 5 months, they get a call and say, hey, turns out that we're just the servicer for your loan. Somebody else owns a loan. And the reality is it was sold as stock, right? In a bunch of different places. We can't actually modify your loan. And so you owe us the difference between all of those modification payments, and you have to pay it in the next month, or we're going to foreclose on your property. Now, I don't know about you, but a guy that was in trouble and said, hey, I just need a little bit of help, and then gets a lifeline, and then somebody sets that lifeline on fire.
Yeah.
That's, they're the reason they're in the foreclosure. And so, to me, like my sense of justice is what government should do, right? Government should be protecting people from those kinds of situations. And that is what I saw over and over and again. I saw children that were losing their family home because their parents want to do the right thing and were trying to do what was best for their family. And it was really hard. And our laws are still, I will say this one thing that Michigan still has not fixed. Our laws are still very, very difficult to protect people in those kinds of situations, and we should do more.
It was a dark time. My only experience is that if somebody came to see me who was getting foreclosed upon, and it was somebody like Trot and Trot or it was almost impossible to get somebody on the phone to talk about.
This is what I'm talking about. I mean,
you're just like, oh God.
Well, I mean,
this is a headache. It was like, I guess we'll see in court, I guess, because I don't know what else we're gonna do.
All the time, we would show up in court on one of these cases, and just some random person, because they would just hire an appearance lawyer,
right?
And so just some rando would show up, and I'd be like, well, the one case where it was the most obvious one, where the guy had made every payment and they literally did it by mistake. Like they went all the way. They destroyed this man's credit. They did all these things to get him to foreclosure. He had a stack of things showing that they were still cashing his checks.
Right.
And so, like I said to the guy, I said, you cannot do this to him. I've called everyone at your firm. I've called the bank. I've tried to get somebody on the phone. You cannot go forward with this. And he was like, well, I don't understand. You know, I said, he said, well, how do I supposed to know what you're saying is true? I said, I don't know. Call your client. He goes, I don't know how to talk to my client. Well, what? How could you be a lawyer for somebody and not know how to talk to your own client? I mean, that doesn't even make sense. So, but like that's what we were dealing with, and because of foreclosures is a pretty cheap way to make money. They monetized every part of it to make a little bit more, and that's why we had that that kind of what I saw was just a little care about what actually happened to people on the back end, and that's government's job to protect people, and that's why I did what I did.
Sounds like you were the right guy at the right time. I mean, a difficult time, but somebody who was very proactive.
Well, I think every job is what you make it, right?
Right.
I mean, wherever you serve, whatever you do, what you put in is what happens.
What you get out.
And, I think that's why people that love what they do are generally better at it, right? Because they're willing to put their whole body and soul into it.
So then they come to you, or somebody comes to you, or you decide, I'm going to run for Senate. And whose seat are you running for?
Governor Whitmer's.
Well, there you go.
So she was term limited out. And I ran in that primary. I had two opponents in the primary. Harold Lehman, former city council member, and Larry Hutchinson, who runs for a lot of offices in town. You might have seen his. He makes homemade posters and puts them up around Lansing. And so we got 70% in that primary.
There you go, and then that was pretty much it, right?
And then the general was, it's a pretty democratic state.
Yeah, and you were in the Senate for 8 years.
8 years, which I was term limited out the year we won the majority.
Tell me when that would have been.
So I was elected in 2014, which was the worst year for Democrats in Michigan history. We had 11 seats in the state Senate. We had less members than the Wu-Tang Clan. We could caucus in an elevator. And I became the campaign chair, and it was my job to recruit candidates, raise money, and to rebuild strategy to build towards a majority. Mm-hmm. And that first year, we went from 11 seats to 16 seats, the largest pickup since Watergate. And then with fair maps, we went from 16 seats to majority, my brother winning the closest seat in the state. So, we went from the very, very bottom to something that hadn't been done in 40 years.
There you go. And then you're a majority, and you decide you're termed out.
Well, I was termed out. I couldn't serve in the majority.
Right.
It's like Moses. You get to the top of the mountain, but you can see the promised land, but you're not allowed to go in.
So then what do you do?
The governor asked me to be her legislative director.
And the governor being
Governor Whitmer.
Right.
And so for the first 6 months of the year, was her legislative director. I'm really proud of it because it was one of the most productive times in Michigan history.
What year is that?
So this was just 3 years ago.
Right.
We passed the largest tax cut for working families, brought 30,000 kids out of poverty, largest investment in affordable housing in our history, ended the retirement tax, first state in 70 years to end right to work, restored prevailing wage. We expanded the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act to include the LGBTQ community. We ended the 1931 abortion law that was still on the books and could have become back law at some point. We just got an amazing amount of things done in a very, very short point of time. We passed the first gun safety laws in Michigan history.
Right.
All done in the first 6 months. One of them, you want to talk about the most important progressive times in the history of Michigan. A lot of that work was done in 6 months in the Michigan legislature when Democrats took the majority.
And then you decide to run.
I decided to run for Congress.
Right, and you run against Tom Barrett in a close election.
Yeah, but you can't
can't knock on all those doors.
No, No, it's a different kind of race. It's a lot of.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think that I feel sad for the country. I don't really feel sad for myself. I mean, it was one of
Right.
those things. I can't tell you running for Congress is my favorite thing. I like running for state senate where you can actually knock on all the doors and have the conversations. It's different in a congressional race.
You're married, right?
I am married. Yeah.
And you live here locally,
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah,
and you have kids.
I do. I have 4.
And how many live with you?
1 now. So I have 3 in college.
Okay, where do they go?
CJ goes to Michigan State, but is actually taking a semester off. And Nathan studies at Wayne State, but he's actually studying in London abroad this semester.
Good for
We're
him.
going to visit him in November. I've never been to London, so if you have any tips, please let me know. And then Lee is at Western Michigan University studying political science, which I never thought any of my kids were.
There you go.
And then Jack is a freshman at East Lansing High School, plays the sousaphone in the marching band.
East Lansing's having a good year, I think, in football.
No, we're bad at football.
Oh, are you?
Oh no!
Maybe
Well,
missed it.
I shouldn't say they're bad. They're kids. I think they've won 2 games.
Oh,
this
they're
year.
not going to make the playoffs.
They were really good last year, but this has
Yeah.
been a rebuilding year.
So
for the-
tell me what kind of decision it makes, because I assume when you ran, you thought you were going to win. And had you won that race, it's going to take you to D.C. a decent amount, sort of away from the
Yeah, that was
household.
actually the scariest part of all of it. I mean, I love public service, and it was a way to extend, that history and that passion of serving people.
Right.
But that was a big concern, though. Absolutely, is what your
You
life
don't like
looks
traffic.
No, yeah,
They have a
Washington D.C.
great-
is not the place to go for that.
They
That's a
got
good
the
point.
great
Yeah.
subway system.
They
It's
do.
a great city,
That's good.
but
yeah.
it's easy to get in and out of. But I mean, you're sort of away from, a place that you've come to love. It sounds like.
Yeah, that would have been much harder. I mean, really, for me, it was about being able to still be in public service. And quite frankly, obviously, Tom Barrett and I disagree on a lot of things. And so, for me, I thought that it was important to try. Turned out to be a pretty bad Democratic year, obviously, and
Mm-hmm.
that was frustrating for sure.
What? So you don't sit around for very long.
No, I'm not a wallower. You know what I mean? Like I'm not somebody
Yeah.
who sits and feels sorry for themselves.
And you must have got the blessing of the governor.
The governor asked me to consider running
Right,
for party chair.
right. And so
so-
you two have probably been pretty closely tied over the years.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And you become head of the Democratic Party.
Yeah,
right?
it's elected.
Right.
It's elected position. So
Right.
I mean, the party chair is chosen by every person who's a member of the Michigan Democratic Party that comes to a convention hall on one day.
Right.
So it really is. I mean, like of the elections I've run, it was actually a very short window of 3 months traveling around the state trying to convince people to get on a bus or to drive themselves down to the Renaissance Center and vote for me for chair. So it was kind of
And you had an opponent.
I did.
Did you know you were going to win before the vote or not? Or did you?
There was
really
no vote
Okay.
because he actually didn't get he dropped out and right beforehand. But I think he dropped out the day of midway through the day. But I think that's because he realized we were going to win. I mean, we had we had brought a lot of people down to the convention center. We had strong support. I think we probably were about 85% of the people that were there. So I think we were in a very good position to win.
Yeah, and so I mean, I'll say it again. I mean, is it important that the state of Michigan has both a strong Republican and strong Democratic Party, or not?
I mean, I want a strong Democratic Party.
Right.
I'm not really concerned about. I mean, I'm not really rooting for a strong Republican Party. But I mean, but I listen,
Like if you were in a James Madison class and you had to answer the question, is society better with a strong two-party state? What would your answer be?
I think there should always be two sides to any debate, and I think that's important. That being
Right.
said, as somebody who believes that the Democratic Party is a force for good in the world and the things that I'm fighting for are right, do I want to win? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And is it easier for me to win if we're a stronger party than they are? For sure.
And
And
how,
so that's my job too, right? I mean, you're not going to
Yeah.
get me to root for them. I mean, is the state of Michigan great if MSU football and U of M football are great? Yeah, of course. Yeah, that would be great.
Right.
But I'm still going to root for the Spartans every Saturday
Right.
and root against whoever's playing Michigan
Right.
every Saturday
Right.
because that's who I am. You know what I
right.
mean?
And so in doing that, how do you assess the Democratic Party in Michigan, if that's a fair question?
Well, I think we're rebuilding strong. So I'm one of the only
Do you
state
th-
parties in
do
the
you-
country that has.
Do you think you need to rebuild?
Yeah, we had a lot of rebuilding to do. Absolutely. There are 83 counties in Michigan, and Democrats did worse than in 79 of them than they had in the previous presidential election. So I'd say, yeah, we got a lot of work to do.
Okay.
But we're doing that work. We're one of the only state parties in the country that has a full-time organizing program. We're doing town halls in every Republican district because they refuse. They were told by their leadership not to have town halls. Tom Baird hasn't had one town hall in this district. We've done them for them. We're going to bring people in to actually listen to what they're actually experiencing in this world. We're doing off-year canvassing indoors to listen better in communities. And we're just opening the office in Detroit, like I talked to you about. I'm showing up in all different kinds of places that the Democratic Party hasn't been
What
in.
do you think you should evaluate the Democratic Party based upon the presidential election when those kind of, I mean, a lot of it is impacted by the Democratic nominee, right?
Oh yeah, that's always true. But here's what I would say. We should want to build a party that actually does well in years, even when it's tough. And I think that's been part of the problem is we've won on the good years, which is great. I mean, I'm proud of the work that we did. But we've let Donald Trump become president twice in this country now, and I blame us. I don't blame the country.
Us being Michigan.
No, Democrats.
Oh, Democrats,
I blame. Listen.
Well, I think that's the only way when you lose to evaluate a loss, right?
I agree. And have you ever seen the movie The American President?
Tell me who's in it. Kevin, what's his name?
No, not Kevin. What's his name? Annette Bening's in it.
But
there's a line in the movie that says that if you don't give people water, they'll drink sand.
right.
Trump is sand. He is bullshit and blame. But we got to give people water. And I don't think we had a real discussion with people about the economic system that's happening in this country. When you look at it, this generation is the slowest generation in American history to buy a car, to buy a house, to start a family. We have, in 1960, the average CEO made 50 times what their employees make. Now it's 360 times. It has become infinitely harder to be middle class in America. And we started the campaign by trying to tell people the economy worked for them. That's just not true.
Right.
And the reality is that the price of eggs is just an added insult to people who live a life that is harder than their parents were. And so we have got to get back to talking about the economic pain that's having in this country and talk about affordable housing and affordable childcare and wages going up and an opportunity economy that actually works for real people.
When you're running for re-election, though, nobody ever says the economy's not working.
Well,
they?
yeah, but
I mean,
yeah, sure, but you cannot convince people. And what I will say is that we did not have an economic conversation this last election, and I think that's part of the problem.
Well, we never talk about the deficit at any debate. We never talk about the deficit or the budget
Sure. I mean, we do talk about the budget
at the national level.
I mean, I think that the budgets are a statement of values. I think the
Right.
budget they just passed.
Right.
I mean, we're literally having a conversation nationally right now on whether we should give tax cuts to millionaires and billionaires or whether we should actually provide access to decent health care to more people. And the fact that they haven't done fixed the subsidies yet, I mean, which is why we're in shutdown right now. That is a huge thing for families. I mean, we're talking about the average family paying thousands of more dollars a month in healthcare premiums if we don't fix that problem. And right now, Republicans would say they would rather not fix it, and so that's why we're shut down right now.
How do you solve the problem about childcare?
Well, I mean, there's a number of problems, right? Part of it is that we don't have
It's
actual
extremely expensive.
extremely expensive and limited options.
Right.
In Shiawassee County, the hospital partnered with the state to open a new child care center, and they were full in like less than 48 hours. The
Yeah, I'm
number of
sure.
slots that they
I'm
had
sure.
because people are begging for
Right,
for quality
right.
child care. It's just that you have to be willing to make the initial investments, and the state can help with that. This governor, Governor Whitmer, has actually had a huge increase in the number of Head Start programs, and also highly trained full-time daycare centers. We need more of that because really, when you think about it, that's the difference for a lot of these kids. My son Nathan, I adopted my son from my wife's first marriage, and he started out in the Great Start Readiness Program, and she was a single mom, and
We have great daycare here, but you just got to be able to get in, and it's expensive, right?
but that is the thing. Government, we are better off subsidizing and making those programs better than we are paying for the consequences of those kids not being ready for school and the long-term consequences of when you're not being ready and where you end up in society. So making investments in young kids and providing them high-quality education and care and nutrition and all those things when they're young does a huge amount for society in general, and it's absolutely pound foolish not to do it.
So let me ask you this, because I understand that the town meetings are, and having them and getting people involved and invested, but how do you develop the talent, the people who want to run? Like you, for the most part, have run campaigns for yourself. Now you have to go out.
Well,
And
I was a campaign chair for the Senate caucus.
yeah.
But, I mean,
so you've picked talent before, right?
yeah.
And you really have to pick talent, right? You really have to find people who are willing to sacrifice and who are willing to run, and
100%.
who have legs, right? Who can actually,
Can I give you the answer? The answer to me is, you have to be curious and actually meet people and convince them to run. Oftentimes, the person that you think
Right.
would be a good legislator and would serve a community well. I've recruited a lot of people to run for office that never thought about running for office before, that were just good community leaders, that had done the work but weren't doing it for a reason, weren't doing it because
Right.
they wanted to run for office one day. To me, a good legislator is somebody who is intellectually curious, knows that they're wrong about some things, willing to learn, a hard worker, and has a servant's heart. That's what makes a good legislator.
And the servant's heart means they're willing to sacrifice
Yeah, because it's
what they can do for what they have to do.
let's
right?
be real. Especially in the state level, to run for state house, most of those people are probably taking a pay cut. I mean,
Well, the good ones.
the
good ones.
And so you are somebody who you're asking somebody in the middle of their career to go to something that has no pension, no long-term investment, but to do it because they believe it's the right thing.
I'm asking a guy who can advocate, who can articulate, who has passion, who can also be self-reflective, which I think is part of all politics problems. Like we are afraid to say we made a mistake,
Yeah.
right? And it seems like you're that kind of guy. And instead of, picking your next seat to run, you have to go out and find somebody like you, whether it's a male or female. You have to go out and find people like you that can maybe, build the party back, rebuild the party.
Yeah. I mean, I think that when I sat in the back of the chamber when Elliot Larson was passed, I mean, I have gay kids, and to think that like their lives were better. I didn't get to make that vote, but I helped build the majority and recruit people to do it. And that's
tell me that Elliot Larson would have been passed before your time, right?
Not the expansion to the LGBTQ community.
Oh, okay.
Before, we had a Democratic trifecta. You could be fired for being gay in Michigan.
Okay, yeah.
You could be denied housing for being gay in Michigan. It was all legal.
Right. And
Shouldn't be
so
that
that was so you were in the back of it.
I get to sit in the chamber while my friend Jeremy Moss, who was the first openly gay person to serve in the state Senate, presided over session and passed a landmark civil rights bill. Now, I didn't get to make that vote. I would have given a kidney to be able to push the button that day. But these people, the people that I recruited to run, the people that we recruited and put the work into and helped get elected and all those things, were able to actually make people's lives better in a significant way. The one vote to extend the earned income tax credit brought 30,000 kids out of poverty. I mean, imagine one vote being able to do that.
I know.
And so when I'm recruiting people to run for office, I take it very seriously because those are the people that are going to be able to do those kinds of things to make Michigan and the world better for the people that I care about around.
So when Gretchen ran, and I don't know how many years ago it was. It was 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
We're now into the seventh. Yeah, we're ending the 7th year right now.
So 8 years ago, 9 years ago, she started
running. Yes,
she started running, and quite frankly, she was going to run against a guy, Bill Schuette. I don't think he had ever lost an election, right?
I don't think Bill Schuette had ever lost an election.
He had been to the Court of Appeals. He had been a judge. He had been in Congress. He had been I think maybe a state rep, and he had been the AG.
Yeah.
Right? And I think the sort of the plan, at least is that Gretchen really went around and built like a grassroots.
Yep.
Northern Michigan, every little town hall that she could do,
That's exactly what we're doing now.
Well, that's my question.
I was in the Mesic Mushroom Festival. I don't know how many Democrats have been up there. We had Iron County, Michigan hasn't had a Democratic Party in a decade. They now have a Democratic Party.
But you're not
again.
running. You're not.
No, we're rebuilding.
You're not running.
No, but we're rebuilding the infrastructure.
Right.
The Michigan Democratic Party. We're not like buying ads and hiring consultants. We're the actual bones of the Democratic Party.
Right.
Like making sure that we have people that are ready to go and doing the work that they actually needed to win an election. And so that infrastructure that you're talking about, the governor doing and traveling all around the state doing. We're trying to build that infrastructure for the next gubernatorial Democrat. And I'm not sure who it'll be yet. I mean, obviously, we still have primaries.
Right. It looks like it's going to be Jocelyn Benson.
As the party chair, I stay out of primaries.
Yeah,
so
but
you can say that. I just can't.
Yeah. But what my question is: are the candidates for governor Democratic? Are they doing the work they need to do?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm traveling all over the state. They're all over the place. So
and can you talk about when you have a relatively strong independent candidate running, how that could impact this election?
I mean, like here's the thing.
Because people, I think, are generally attractive to the idea, right?
Sure. I mean, like if Mike Duggan was run on anything, that would make sense. I mean, Mike Duggan decided to leave the party in a time where I think we are facing so many challenges as a country, and the idea that you would leave now, I think, is only done because he realized that he could not win a Democratic primary, and so out of fear of losing, he decided to do this, which I think is pretty weak.
But he didn't have to. He wasn't term limited as a mayor of Detroit, was it?
I don't think he wanted to be mayor of Detroit.
No, but I mean, he could have stayed.
Sure, if that's what he wanted to do.
Right.
But it's good. I think I think he realized that he wanted to do something else. But he wanted to run for governor. It's been his dream to run for governor. Realized he couldn't win a Democratic primary, so he chickened out of that, and now is doing this. I would say this, that he has. He just said that Trump's Medicaid cuts aren't that bad. He's talked about bringing Elon Musk here.
I see the billboards. MAGA loves Dugan.
He's taking money from him. I mean, he had a fundraiser last night at somebody who was a sponsor of the forcing women to buy rape insurance so that if they were raped, they would have to have a separate rider for abortion. He had a fundraiser at that person's house last night. Um, I I don't think he is running a campaign not about actual policy in a time that I think is incredibly important with what's going on in the Trump administration. And I think anybody who would say that the Medicaid cuts aren't that bad is not paying attention to what's about to happen in the state. Because rural hospitals are at severe danger of closing. We have hundreds of thousands of people that might lose access to care. We have premiums that are about to skyrocket on Michigan's families. And because he wants Donald Trump's people that voted for Trump's votes, he's going to say, "Oh well, the Medicaid cuts aren't that bad." He was a hospital CEO. He knows how bad the Medicaid cuts are going to be for families. He's just saying whatever is politically convenient. Like the idea that this is some kind of that he's some kind of profile in courage for running as an independent is a joke.
Well,
I mean, he is
but
basically no. I mean, he is basically running as with no label in front of it, so he can pander to whatever group he's in front of.
right, and likely because he did the math on the Democratic primary,
Yeah,
right?
because he thought he was going to lose. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, like he now decides to tell this whole story about why he left the Democratic Party. He was on stage with Vice President Harris. His son ran the actual campaign for Vice President Harris in Michigan. I mean, the idea that it's some great moral clarity they had in the 2 weeks afterwards is ridiculous.
But can he? So as a Democratic strategist, right? Your job is to deliver.
Yeah, I'm
going
to win. Yeah, I mean, so what?
So can you talk about that strategy?
Yeah, I mean
it's
right
gonna
now,
be
the polling shows that that he is pulling equally from Democrats and Republicans, but significantly less than both. He's polling in the low 20s, and Democratic candidates are actually polling well ahead of that, and even the Republicans are polling well ahead of that. We have to make him an unacceptable choice for people that want to vote for Democrats. We got to win independent voters as well. And I feel like we have a message about kitchen table issues that are really affecting families that will win Michigan at the end of the day. And I think people are ready for change of what's happening in the country level. And that's going to give Democrats an opportunity. But you only do that by knocking on doors and doing the actual work. And that's what we're doing across the state.
and you still have 2 other state seats to figure out, right?
Yeah, we
You
will
have
have
the AG, right?
we'll have a endorsement convention on April 19th. We haven't really talked about that publicly very much yet. So I mean, we're making news on your podcast. On April 19th, we'll have a endorsement convention to select the Secretary of State and Attorney General candidates.
And then that's going to be who's going to run. So is it 27 that the election?
No,
is? I mean
next year.
26.
26, yeah.
26. Yeah.
So if people want to have a vote on who the Democratic candidate is, they just got to join up for the Michigan Democratic Party. They can do so on our website, michigandems.com, and then you can come and vote who the Democratic candidate for Secretary of State or Attorney General will be.
And so, the real news is this isn't a lifetime position for you.
It's elected every 2 years, just like everything else I've ever done. So, no, I love this job. I'm passionate about it, and I want to do it as long as I love this job, and I'm passionate about it.
You seem to be a really good advocate for the Dems.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I love this job every day.
Where do you think Governor Whitmer is going to go after this?
I think the governor can do a lot of things. I mean, she's incredibly talented, and she is, I think, one of the best communicators that the Democratic Party has. I mean, she translates through a camera, which I think is incredibly difficult to people really well. And she's good in a room as well. She's a good retail politician.
She's had a lot of practice for sure.
Yeah, I also know that she's got a family, and they've been put through a lot. I mean, the risks that she's had to take to her life and the security level that she's had to have. The potential threats.
What about guys like me that live in the neighborhood and she's walking around? I'm like, what the hell? You're walking around with one
I can't even say where we see that because I mean, like, I don't, who I don't want to get in trouble with her
Right.
detail.
Right.
But I mean, but she is but she's also, as you know, a mom and a really down to earth person when you really get to it. She's a
Right.
fun person to have a beer with.
I think her husband is one of the great
Oh yeah,
guys of all time. 15 minutes. He's a little bit like you. You put it all out there. He does too, but he has a comedic side to him. That's
I
pretty
do like Mark a lot. But my point about all this is that I think that there's lots of things she could do. I think she probably weighs all of those family things and any of those considerations as well.
Sometimes though, the calling is too great, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, I will tell you that was when I ran for Congress. I didn't have a dream of being in Congress,
right.
but the calling for public service, I took 2 years out of my life to do that because of what I felt was needed. And so, no, I can see that's a powerful pull as well.
We're way over our time.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But I do have something else. Like, so I'm pretty critical of the Democrats at a national level, and what I don't understand, and I say this, and if you looked at my contributions politically, I mean, most of the time they're Democratic.
You've been very good to me over
yeah,
the years.
yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, I didn't make no, I don't hide that. I mean, that's all public. But what I don't understand is like when everything is at stake, right? In this last election, and I think, we should have never looked at it any differently, right? Why did we run Joe Biden? Like I gotta tell you this. Like,
Listen,
if you were at that level, I mean, somebody should have stepped up, like John McCain did. Like, why didn't anybody step up and say, "I'm going to run in the primary"? And that to me is like, of failing that we have to look at and say,
it's hard. It would be hard for me to disagree with you. I mean, let me say this. I have an enormous amount of respect for Joe Biden as a public servant and the work he did over the years. I do. But I watched my entire political career flash before my eyes watching that debate.
Yeah.
And I think that anyone who was with him 5 minutes before that must have known that he wasn't prepared, or that he was in no condition to do it. And you're right. It's thinking about the decisions you have to make as president are even more serious than the decisions you have to make on a campaign.
I mean,
and I do think it was it was a. You never know how many people knew, but I do say that it was certainly to me a huge concern that no one thought, can we actually, who's going to tell him no? And I understand it's hard to tell the most powerful person in the world no, but somebody has to sometimes.
I get all that, and I get the basic thought, but we don't we have one John McCain in the entire Democratic Party that it's going to buck the system? I mean, that's the thing.
I mean,
you know what I mean? That's the question is, I mean, Buttigieg, who seems to be able to talk at length about a lot of different subjects, never really looks dumb, never really looks like he's caught flat-footed, right? I mean, he didn't do it. I mean, that's the real thing. And look at John.
The one thing I would say is that you and I both don't know what every day was like.
Right.
Like we saw that moment, and I think anybody who saw that moment knew pretty quickly, oh my God, this is much worse than we knew.
But he was behind in the polls for much of his
absolutely,
presidency. That's the only thing I would go by is like how, and I honestly think Trump was maybe the weakest Republican that's ever run, and he's beat some strong candidates, right? Well, and he somehow was able to do something.
But I do think that he speaks to. There are a lot of people who voted for Bernie Sanders and also voted for Trump. A lot of people voted for AOC and Trump, and you go, how could that possibly be? And I think a big part of that is that people see too often the Democratic Party has been weak. We don't actually fight for what we believe in. We don't stand up. We try to run as Republican light. We listen to consultants more than we actually listen to people. And I think that's been a major failing of who we are. And I think we're a force for good in the world. I believe in the things that I'm fighting for, and we got to stop apologizing for being Democrats and get up and fight back and say, no, we are a party that fights for working people. We are a party that stands up against powerful corporations and actually makes sure that they actually don't poison our water, and make sure that they pay fair wages to their staffs. And we have gotten away from that on so many levels. And to me, that the most insidious ad in that campaign was the "they, them, not you" ad. It's a brilliant and horrible ad. But it's not the "they, them" part. It's the "not you." People felt like the Democratic Party wasn't fighting for them. And that is what has to change. We have to make them feel it in their soul that when we get into power, we actually do those things. And this is what we do. It's like we're afraid of our own shadows. Barack Obama passed the most increased access to health care law in the history of this country in the Affordable Care Act, right? Besides Medicare and Medicaid and their expansion, but the biggest expansion of that. And Democrats in 2010 ran away from it.
Yeah.
They said, "Whoa, no, I'm not going to talk about that vote," and we got smoked. And right after that, Barack Obama runs back for election and says, "I'm going to call it Obama. I'm going to take Obamacare and I'm going to own it, and I'm going to talk about what we're actually doing to actually make people's lives better." And he creams the competition. That's we need happy warriors that are willing to go out and sell the things we actually believe in that will make people's lives better. Not give them a handout, just make it a little easier to raise a family, a little easier to buy a house, a little easier to be middle class in America. And if we actually talk about those things and have a passion to talk about those things and are willing to fight back, then I think we'll be in a much better spot. We can't just keep being sorry for who we are. I'm proud to be a Democrat. We need to actually stand up and say that publicly.
This has been great. We'll end it there with that statement because
Thank you,
that
my
probably tells us more about you than anything we could have asked for.
Thank you, my friend. I
Great
appreciate it.
job. Great job.
Thank you.